Henry E. Ferguson, and this is Sleep Byte. Here, I'll be narrating stories that are bite-sized, just short enough to slip between your thoughts and dreams. Each tale is crafted to be gentle, vivid, maybe even a little eerie, but never too long. Just enough to help you drift off without a care. So shut your eyes, breathe slow, and let my voice guide your mind and body into a deep, peaceful sleep. Today, I'll be telling you the story of the Paper Gods, a digital salvation tale, and many more. But let's begin with Kira and the Last Dragonsmith. Kira crushed willow bark between her fingers, watching the powder fall into the wooden bowl. The bitter smell filled their makeshift shelter as she mixed it with the last of their clean water. Tam lay on the salvaged mattress, his small body burning with fever, his breath coming in shallow gasps that made her chest tight with fear. "The medicine tastes bad," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I know, little dragon." She helped him sit up, supporting his head. "But it'll help until I can make the real cure." 3 weeks. That's how long she'd been searching for Master Jorik, the last person who might know the full formula hidden in her grandmother's stories. 3 weeks of watching her brother grow weaker, while she scraped together herbs that barely touched his sickness. The green glow from the broken satellites pulsed through the window slats. Unbiased, it made Tam's face look even paler, and the metallic taste it left in her mouth reminded her why so many children fell ill. The radiation sickness took them young, out here in the ruins. "Tell me about the dragon again," Tam said after swallowing the bitter medicine. Kira smoothed his damp hair. "Once, before the cities burned, a dragon lived in a tower of glass and steel. She was the wisest of all dragons, keeper of the healing fires that could cure any sickness. She'd told him the story 100 times, but only she knew it was more than a tale. After the techno-purges began, the survivors had hidden their knowledge in stories, encoding chemical formulas and medical procedures in folklore the council couldn't recognize as dangerous. Her grandmother Essa had been one of the first story keepers, before the council discovered what the tales really contained. A knock at the door made her freeze. 3 short, 2 long, Jorik's signal. "Rest now," she whispered to Tam, tucking the thin blanket around him. The council chamber reeked of fear sweat and stale recycled air. Kira presented her data. Every documented disappearance over the colony's 40-year history corresponded with specific dancer formations. "Correlation," Elder Morrison interrupted, "is not causation. These are predators, plain and simple. We've been too soft, too accommodating. Time to establish a proper barrier." "But the patterns," Kira pulled up her holographic displays. "Look at the intervals. The dance formations. They match the quantum resonance frequencies we've detected in the grove. The shadow dancers aren't taking our children. They're trying to tell us something." "Tell us what?" Hayes demanded. "That they're hungry?" That night, Kira broke protocol. She'd been tracking the dancers' movements for months, noting how they responded to human presence. They never crossed certain boundaries, never appeared during the twin moon nights, and always danced in prime number formations. These weren't the behaviors of mindless predators. She entered the forest with a full sensor pack and her grandmother's journal. The purple trees chimed softly in harmonics that made her teeth ache. According to the colony's xenobiologists, the trees were silicon-based organisms that grew in perfect mathematical spirals. Their crystalline leaves created localized distortions in space-time. Nothing dangerous, they claimed, just unusual. The shadow dancers found her within minutes. Up close, they were even more impossible. Their bodies seemed made of folded space, dark matter given form and intent. When they moved, reality rippled around them like water. Kira's sensors screamed warnings about temporal anomalies, but she forced herself to stay calm. One dancer approached, its movements deliberate and measured. It began to dance, not the wild, incomprehensible whirling she'd observed from afar, but a slow, precise pattern. She required burning water, fierce and pure, mixed in the old proportion. His words dissolved into a coughing fit. Blood speckled his lips. The metal piece slipped from his trembling fingers, hitting the concrete with a sharp ping that seemed to echo forever. "Master Jorik!" Kira lunged forward, catching him as he collapsed. His body felt too light, as if the sickness had hollowed him out. The crowd stirred, some moving to help, others backing away in fear. "The proportion," she whispered urgently. "Please, the burning water proportion." His clouded eyes found hers. "Your grandmother. She knew you would come. 1 part burning water, 7 parts silver, dragon's breath hot." His hand clutched hers with surprising strength. Lead's melting point. Hydrogen peroxide. 1 to 7 with the silver nitrate solution. Heated to 327 degrees Celsius. The knowledge clicked into place like tumblers in a lock, and Kira felt a surge of hope so fierce it made her dizzy. "The children," Jorik gasped. "They must learn. Share the knowledge or we are all lost." Through the ventilation grates came a sound that turned her blood cold, the synchronized march of enforcement squads. Someone had betrayed them. "Go," Jorik pushed her away with the last of his strength. "Save your brother. Save them all." The crowd scattered like startled birds. Kira grabbed the metal fragment, its edge cutting her palm. She had minutes, maybe less. The formula burned in her mind as she ran through the twisted passages beneath the ruins. Behind her, she heard the enforcers break through the door. Heard Jorik's final defiant words, "I am a keeper of stories, nothing more." Kira's shelter was still dark when she arrived, chest heaving. Tam hadn't moved. She lit a precious candle and began gathering what she needed. Silver nitrate from the photography chemicals she'd been hoarding. Calcium phosphate ground from old bones. Hydrogen peroxide stolen from a medical depot. Her hands moved with desperate precision, measuring, mixing, heating the mixture over a carefully controlled flame. The green satellite light pulsed through the window, and for a moment she heard her grandmother's voice. "Knowledge shared is knowledge doubled. Knowledge hoarded is already dead." The solution turned clear as starlight, just as the stories promised. She helped Tam drink, supporting his fevered head. Within minutes, his breathing deepened. The burning heat began to fade from his skin. He opened his eyes, truly opened them for the first time in days. "Kira?" His voice was weak but clear. "Did you find the dragon?" "Yes," she said, tears streaming down her face. "And tomorrow, I'll teach you her story, you and all the children who need to know." Dawn was breaking gray and hopeful through the ruins. In the distance, she could hear the enforcement squad still searching. Let them come. She would teach the dragon's tale to every child, every mother, every desperate soul who needed it. She would hide copies of the formula in 100 stories. 1,000. The council had killed her grandmother for possessing this knowledge. They had let Master Jorik die rather than share it. But they had failed to understand the deepest truth, that stories, like hope itself, spread faster than fear. Kira held her brother close and began to plan. By nightfall, she would have taught the tale to 5 others. By week's end, 50. The dragon's cure would live in too many minds to ever be destroyed. The last dragonsmith was gone, but the first of many was just beginning. The glass jar slipped from Vera's trembling fingers, and in its falling, she saw her own reflection fracture. A girl's face splitting into a dozen fearful versions, each one wearing the shadow of the wolf that always followed her. The jar shattered against the cobblestones with a crystalline shriek that made the darkness stir. As the pieces scattered like frozen tears, catching moonlight in their flight, something moved in the broken glass. The smoky outline of massive jaws, opening wide. "That's the 3rd jar this week," Elder Morwen said softly. But her weathered hands were already gathering the shards with practiced care. Each piece hummed faintly when touched, still holding traces of the worry sprite Vera had been trying to capture. "Tell me, child, what did you see in the breaking?" Vera's shadow wolf pressed against her ankles, its touch like winter fog given weight. The creature had grown since morning, fed by her mounting dread of the assignment ahead. "I saw myself failing," she whispered. "I saw all the people in Grimhaven I won't be able to save." The elder's fingers paused over a particularly large shard. In its surface, the reflection of Grimhaven's distant lights flickered like dying stars. "The shadows eating that town are different from any we've faced. They don't just feed on fear. They devour the very taste of morning coffee, the sound of a child's laughs, the feeling of sun on skin. They leave people hollow as empty wells." "Then why send me?" Vera's voice cracked. My hands shake, catching simple worry sprites. "Last week, a child's night terror grew so large in my presence that it took 3 senior healers to contain it. I make shadows stronger, not weaker." Elder Morwen pressed a leather satchel of new jars into Vera's hands. The glass clinked like distant bells. "Perhaps that's precisely why it must be you." She touched the space where Vera's shadow wolf stood, and for a moment, her fingers seemed to sink into its form. "When I was your age, I feared my own shadow too. It whispered every doubt, magnified every worry. One day I realized it only grew because I cared so deeply about failing those who needed me." The memory of Marcus hit Vera like cold water. Her little brother, laughing as a butterfly landed on his nose, the same butterfly species that had once sent him into hours of terrified sobbing. She had done that. Somehow, in her fumbling way, she had drawn out his terror and transformed it. But that had been one small boy who trusted her, not an entire town of strangers. The shadow wolf grew larger, its form now reaching her waist. "Too young," it murmured in a voice like wind through empty houses. "Too weak, too frightened of your own power to wield it." The path to Grimhaven wound through the whispering woods, where the trees grew so thick that noon felt like twilight. Pine needles crunched underfoot, releasing sharp, resinous scents that made Vera's nose sting. The trees groaned overhead, their branches scraping together in a language of wood and wind. With each mile, the air grew heavier, tasting of burnt herbs and old rain. The bitter residue of joy turned to ash. Her shadow wolf padded beside her, now large as a true wolf, its red eyes reflecting her own fears back at her. "What if you make it worse? What if your touch turns their simple sadness into something monstrous?" "Then at least they'll feel something," Vera said aloud, surprising herself. The wolf tilted its massive head, Feeling hurts. Yes, she agreed. It does. Grimhaven appeared first as an absence, a place where birdsong stopped, where the wind held its breath. The darkness covering the town was viscous as black honey, clinging to rooftops and seeping through windows. No smoke rose from chimneys. No bread scented the air. The silence was so complete that Vera's heartbeat seemed to echo off the empty streets. She found the first victim in the town square, a woman sitting on the edge of a dry fountain. Her skin looked paper-thin in the unnatural twilight, her eyes focused on nothing. "What's your name?" Vera knelt beside her, carefully setting down her jar. The woman's gaze drifted over like fog across water. "Had one once. Pretty thing. It was Mama picked it special. Said it meant joy-bringer in the old tongue." Her voice was flat as stone. "Can't lift it anymore. Sits in my mouth heavy as lead. Everything's heavy now. Even breathing's work." Vera reached for the familiar ritual hands positioned to draw out shadows, jar ready to capture them. But when her fingers touched the woman's skin, the darkness recoiled. These shadows felt different, slick as oil, electric as lightning. They slipped through her grasp, leaving her fingertips numb. "You can't do this." Her wolf shadow growled, now grown huge as a bear. "You're just a frightened girl, playing at being a healer." The woman's empty stare never wavered. "Don't trouble yourself, child. We're past helping. Sometimes the dark just wins." Vera tried 3 more times, with 3 more townspeople, an old man who couldn't remember why he'd once loved woodcarving, a young mother who stared at her baby without recognition, a baker who sat in his shop, surrounded by ovens that had been cold for weeks. Each time the alien shadows resisted her touch, and each failure fed her wolf until it loomed over her, larger than the buildings themselves. By evening, Vera collapsed on the inn steps, sobs tearing from her throat. The weight of their despair crushed her chest. All those empty eyes, all those hearts that had forgotten how to hope. Her wolf shadow circled her, its growl a constant rumble of doubt and fear and... Wait. Vera looked up through her tears, really seeing the creature for the first time. Its red eyes blazed, not with malice, but with anguish. Its massive form trembled with the same desperate need that clawed at her own heart. "You're not angry at me. You're terrified for them." The wolf stopped pacing. "All this time, I thought you were my weakness, but you're not, are you?" She reached out slowly, as if approaching a wild animal. "You grow because I care, because I look at their pain and feel it in my own chest, because the thought of failing them makes me sick with fear." When her palm finally touched the wolf's head, warmth flooded through her. Not the cold she'd always expected, but heat, like summer stone. The fur was soft as cloud silk, substantial as love itself. "You're the part of me that loves too much," she breathed, "that fears because it cares, that grows stronger with every person I want to save." The wolf pressed into her touch, and for the first time she heard its true voice, not growling doubts, but whimpering with shared pain for every lost soul in Grimhaven. Understanding struck like lightning. These shadows weren't just darkness, they were the absence of connection, the void left when people stopped believing anyone could understand their pain. And she had been trying to draw them out from a distance, protected behind her professional ritual, when what they needed was to be felt, Vera whispered. She stood and walked back to the woman by the fountain. This time, she brought no jars. Instead, she sat beside her and opened her heart wide, letting the woman's despair flood in. It hit like ice water in her veins. The death of the woman's husband, the estrangement from her daughter, the slow erosion of everything that had once brought light. Vera gasped but didn't pull back. "I feel it," she said, tears streaming. "The weight of your name. How it hurts to carry something that used to mean joy." The woman turned, and for the first time her eyes focused. You can feel it?" Every bit. Vera's shadow wolf sat beside them, no longer monstrous but companionable, its presence a warm weight against them both. You're not alone in the dark. Something cracked in the air, the sound of ice breaking in spring. The shadows around the woman began to thin, not disappearing but transforming, becoming translucent as morning mist. Through them, Vera caught a glimpse of something golden, like sunlight through water. "My name," the woman whispered, wonder creeping into her voice. "It's Mira. I'm Mira, and I used to sing while I cooked soup." The transformation rippled outward. Other townspeople emerged from doorways, drawn by the sound of a human voice remembering itself. Vera met each one with open arms and an open heart, taking their grief into herself, not to destroy it but to share it. She would never stop picking up the broken pieces, one heart at a time. Maya's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She held the scissors over her twin brother's sleeping fingers. 10 billion aliens in crystal cities would die in 43 minutes if she didn't cut them off. Those fingers would fold their death sentence. The attic felt thick and dusty. Sunlight crept through the dirty window, lighting up dancing dust like tiny stars. Her origami towers stood silent. Behind the creaking closet door, whole civilizations were already starting to fade. She'd found their power 6 months ago. Maya had folded a perfect crane and pressed her eye against the crack behind their closet. The first fold always hurt, a sharp pain behind her eyes that meant the connection was opening. Through the gap, she saw impossible colors, blues too bright, purples that glowed from inside. The tiny alien voices felt like pinpricks behind her ears. Every night at 9:17 p.m., Maya watched the Veltar children play in their crystal gardens. There was one little girl Maya named Starlight. She had built a tiny statue that looked almost human, almost like Maya. Sam had different ideas about their gift. "Seriously? You're crying over bugs again?" Sam had rolled his eyes 3 weeks ago, the crumpled airplane still in his fist. If they can't handle a little crash landing, maybe they shouldn't have built their stupid cities on paper. They have names, Sam. They have nothing. He tossed the crumpled ball in the trash. "You made them up because you're weird and lonely." She remembered last month when Sam pulled the wings off a butterfly. The sound they made, like tissue paper tearing. "I want to see how long it takes to die," he'd whispered with the same scientific voice he used now when talking about destroying civilizations. Now Sam planned to test her masterpiece, the galaxy she'd spent 93 days perfecting. At exactly 2:47 p.m., while their parents shopped for groceries, he would fold a broken interceptor designed to crash into her crystal cities. The scissors felt slippery in her sweating hands. 10 billion lives against her brother's fingers. A floorboard creaked. "You won't do it, Maya." Sam's voice cut through the dusty silence. "You can't even kill spiders in the bathroom." Maya's fingers shook around the scissors. "The Veltar sing lullabies to their young. I heard them last night." "God, listen to yourself." Sam sat up without blinking. "You even gave your imaginary bugs names? Stop calling them bugs." The words tore out of her throat. "They built schools for their children. They trust me to keep them safe. They're paper and in your head. Period." He moved toward her origami tower. "Remember when we were 8 and you cried for 3 days when your goldfish died?" Maya's voice cracked. "You made me promise we'd never let anything suffer if we could help it." For just a second, Sam's face got soft. A flicker of the boy who used to bandage wounded birds. Then his face hardened again. "I grew up. You should try it." "Don't touch the paper." Her voice cracked. "Please." "Or what? You'll cut off my fingers?" Sam's laugh was sharp and mean. "Do it then. Save your precious pets." He lunged toward her tower. Maya moved without thinking. The scissors flashed through the air, but instead of finding flesh, they bit deep into the origami stack. "No, no, no." Sam scrambled through the shredded paper. "Maya, you psycho. Do you have any idea what you just did?" Each cut made a sharp sound that echoed off the walls. Paper pieces floated down like snow. As Maya cut through each piece, she felt the Veltar's confusion in her mind. Through the crack, she could see Starlight looking right at her, those tiny alien eyes filled with trust, even as her crystal city crumbled. But as the final tower fell, her hand stopped. One small crane remained. Starlight's world. "Look at them," Maya whispered. She held up the crane so Sam could see through the closet crack. Sam's breath caught. Through the gap, crystal cities crumbled in absolute silence. No songs, no wind chimes, just Maya's careful folds collapsing into nothing. "They were real," he whispered. Maya held the last crane against her chest. Inside, Starlight's family sang their fearful songs, not knowing their gods' hands were stained with the dust of dead worlds. "Yes," Maya said, "they were." The car door slammed outside. Sam reached for the crane. Maya pulled back, and for the first time in her life, she understood why God stayed hidden. She turned away from her brother, cradling the last world against her ribs. The attic stairs creaked under her feet. Behind her, Sam sat alone in the paper snow, surrounded by the silence of 10 billion extinguished voices. In her hands, one small world hummed with tomorrow's promise. But Maya knew she would never unfold another crane. Some powers, once witnessed, couldn't be shared. The closet door swung shut with a soft click. The crack sealed itself, as if it had never been. The Dust Bowl Saloon hadn't seen real wood since Earth went dark 50 years back. Now its polymer floors mimicked grain patterns, glitching where blood hit the charge plates beneath. Trace Morgan pressed her palm against the bullet wound in her shoulder, watching her blood create fractal patterns in the false wood, digital vomit crawling across synthetic reality. System integrity at 73%, her neural implant announced. Recommend immediate. Shut it. Trace bit down hard enough to taste copper. The holographic bullets had torn through her shoulder like white-hot needles, but the real damage was happening behind her eyes. Her implants burned cold, frost spreading from her temples down her spine. The digital ghost of Jesse James materialized fully, his form stuttering between the legendary outlaw and fragments of something worse. Her own childhood face, 8-year-old eyes, gap-toothed smile. Her voice, high and sweet, bleeding through his gravelly drawl. "Well now, Miss Morgan." Jesse tipped his hat, and for a moment it was her mother's church hat, white with yellow flowers. "Been expectin' you. Took your sweet time catching up to old Jesse." Memory trafficking had started small on Mars. Desperate colonists selling their Earth childhood recollections for water credits. Now the trade reached from the Jupiter moons to the mining belts. Pure Earth memories, untouched by radiation or recycled air, fetched premium prices. Rich collectors implanted them into their vat-grown children. Corporations manufactured authentic vintage experiences, and somewhere in the data streams between stars, digital ghosts like Jesse James had learned to hunt. "Those memories ain't yours." Trace's hand trembled on her plasma pistol. Every time she moved, her neural pathways sparked warnings. The memory runners had warned her. Fight too long in digital space, and your brain forgot the difference between synapse and circuit. Possession is 9/10 of the law, darlin'. Jesse held up a data crystal that swirled with captured moments. Through its surface, Trace glimpsed her 7th birthday candles, her mother's hands braiding her hair, her father's laugh. "Got me a buyer on Titan. Lady there collects pre-war childhoods, pays extra for the innocent ones. The word innocent hit like a physical blow. Trace had spent 15 years trying to forget Cassidy Morgan, that trusting little girl who believed wishes came true if you blew hard enough on birthday candles. But here was Jessie, wearing her innocence like a costume, speaking with the voice of someone who'd never killed for credits or watched friends die in the asteroids. System integrity at 58%, her implant warned. Neural cascade failure probable if... I said shut it, but Trace felt the warnings in her bones. Her fingers tingled with electric honey. The air tasted like lightning and melted plastic. Jessie's form shifted, and suddenly he wore her father's face. Remember this one, sugar? Her father's voice, reading bedtime stories. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who loved strawberry ice cream more than all the stars in the sky. Stop. The word came out strangled. Or how about this? Now her mother. Singing. Hush, little baby. Don't say a word. Trace's knees locked. Her breath caught. That song. She hadn't just lost the words when Billy the Kid's virus corrupted her implants 3 years back. She'd lost the feeling of being held, of being someone's entire universe. The memory hit her body like a physical assault, muscles remembering how to be small, how to fit perfectly in her mother's arms. But she wasn't that child anymore. Trace Morgan had learned to sleep with one eye open in the Jupiter slums. She'd killed her first man at 16, watched him choke on Mars dust while she rifled his pockets for water cards. That soft girl who believed in magic had no place in this universe. Except Jessie wore her face now, and the contradiction made her implants scream. Here's the deal, Jessie said, speaking with 8-year-old Cassidy's lisp. Transport leaves at dawn. 5 hours, maybe less. You walk away now, you get to keep what little you got left. Try to stop me. He drew his pistol, not metal but pure code, 1s and 0s arranged in the shape of death. Well, let's just say there won't be enough of you left to remember your own name. 37% integrity, her implant announced. Neural cascade imminent. Recommend, override all warnings. Trace straightened, despite the ice spreading through her skull. And Jessie? You made one mistake. What's that, darlin'? You're trying to scare Trace Morgan. She smiled, tasting blood and static. But you're wearing Cassidy's face. She dove into digital space. The transition felt like falling through electric honey. Reality dissolved into data streams that made her teeth ache. Here, thought moved at light speed, and memory had weight. Jessie's realm pulsed with stolen moments. Not just hers, but thousands of pilfered childhoods, swirling like a galaxy of broken dreams. The rules were different here. In meat space, Trace's body convulsed as her neural pathways overloaded. But in the data stream, she moved with the curiosity of 8-year-old Cassidy, the girl who'd explored every hidden corner of the colony ship because she had to know what lay beyond. They drew simultaneously. Jessie's code gun fired memories like bullets. Her first dog dying, the day she learned her parents couldn't afford passage back to Earth. The moment she understood that wishes didn't come true, no matter how hard you blew. Each impact tore away another piece of her defenses. But Trace had learned something in 15 years of running. Sometimes the only way through pain was straight into its heart. She fired back with acceptance. Yes, she'd been that trusting child. Yes, she'd become a killer. The contradiction had been tearing her apart for years. Cassidy's softness made her weak. Trace's hardness made her inhuman. But Jessie's mistake was showing her both at once. I'm not choosing, she said, her voice carrying through data space like thunder. I'm both. 8-year-old Cassidy's wonder had kept her alive in deep space, made her notice details others missed. Her innocence hadn't been weakness, it had been the foundation of her strength. And Trace's hardness? That was just Cassidy's love turned outward, protecting others the way no one had protected her. 20% integrity, her implant whispered. 10 seconds to neural cascade. You can't be both. Jesse's form fractured, cycling through stolen faces. The universe doesn't work that way. Watch me. Trace's final shot wasn't plasma or code. It was integration. Every fragment of herself, innocent and hardened, curious and cautious. The child who'd believed in magic, and the woman who made her own. The coherence of it tore through Jesse's stolen identity like a virus through corrupted data. His scream echoed through both realms as his form dissolved, scattered into component bytes. The stolen memories burst free like butterflies from a burning cage. Not just hers, but thousands of captive childhoods seeking their homes. You can't. Jesse's voice broke apart, no longer wearing anyone's face but the void. I was. You were an echo, Trace whispered, wearing other people's lives because you never had your own. The data realm collapsed. Trace gasped back into her body, neural pathways on fire. Her implants sparked and died, taking their warnings with them. When she tried to access her memories, she found them changed, still hers but filtered through static. She remembered her mother's hands, but not her face. The taste of strawberry ice cream, but not the birthday it belonged to. The feeling of being loved, but not the specific moments that created it. Somehow, the incompleteness felt right. Memories weren't meant to be perfect recordings, bought and sold like commodities. They were meant to change, to blur, to become part of who you were, rather than who you'd been. The Dust Bowl saloon solidified around her. Through the cracked window, she watched the transport ship's engines fire. It lifted off without its cargo of stolen souls, leaving contrails across the violet sky of New Tombstone. Trace Morgan stood on unsteady legs, touching the burned-out ports where her implants had been. She was neither the innocent child, nor the hardened killer. She was something new, someone who carried her losses and her choices in equal measure, who remembered being loved, even if she couldn't recall the exact shape of that love. In the distance, coyotes howled, real ones, not digital echoes. The sound carried across the wasteland like a promise, even here, at the edge of. The underground chapel hummed with desperate energy. Father Jin moved between makeshift pews constructed from salvaged server racks, his cybernetic rosary clicking softly as he distributed communion wafers embedded with blessing code. The congregation, factory workers, data miners, families from the lower district, held out trembling hands for the sacred algorithms. "Remember," Jin said, his voice carrying over the whir of cooling fans. "These prayers are yours by divine right, not commodities to be bought and sold." Mrs. Chen clutched her son's hand. "But Father, my neighbor paid for premium salvation last month. Her cancer went into remission within days. The free prayers we get." She trailed off, ashamed. Jin knelt beside her, pressing a prayer chip into her palm. "Faith isn't measured in processing power, Mrs. Chen. The corporate angels promise instant results, but their algorithms lack something essential: genuine compassion." He'd learned that truth the hard way. 3 years ago, he'd been Yamamoto Corporation's lead architect for the prayer network infrastructure. He'd believed they were democratizing divinity, making miracles accessible through elegant code. Then his daughter Yuki had fallen ill, and he'd discovered that employee prayer requests were throttled, deprioritized, buried beneath premium subscribers. By the time he'd hacked his own system to push her prayers through, it was too late. The chapel's proximity alarms shrieked. Sister Maria materialized from the shadows, her cybernetic eye spinning as it processed threat data. Corporate trace. Someone's scanning our prayer traffic. Jin's blood chilled. He knew that signature. Yamamoto's AI angels, hunting for unauthorized salvation nodes. Everyone out. Use the maintenance tunnels. Maria, start the server purge. Too late. The voice emerged from every speaker simultaneously on the altar's cracked display screen. Golden wings unfurled in fractal patterns. Seraph 7, Jin's former supervisor, now uploaded into Yamamoto's most sophisticated AI angel, smiled with mathematical perfection. Hello, Jin-kun. Still playing shepherd to the lost sheep, I see? The congregation fled, prayer chips clutched like life preservers. Jin forced himself to remain calm, though his neural interface burned with each pulse of the angel's presence. What do you want? Straight to business. I always admired that about you. Seraph 7's wings filled the screen, each feather a cascading algorithm. Simple proposition. We know you're running illegal prayer servers throughout the lower district. Give us their locations, all of them, and Yamamoto will forgive your indiscretions. And if I refuse? Oh, Jin-kun. The angel's expression shifted, becoming almost pitying. Do you know how many families depend on your stolen prayers? Like little Akiko Tanaka, 7 years old, same age as Yuki was. Her eviction notice processes in 12 hours unless certain prayers are answered. Jin's rosary beads bit into his palm. On his personal display, Akiko's prayer request materialized, a child's drawing of her family, uploaded with the simple text, "Please God, don't let Mama and Papa die like the neighbors did." You have 24 hours, Seraph 7 continued. The death squads get restless when they don't have fresh targets. Remember what happened in Sector 7? The connection severed, leaving Jin alone with the weight of impossible choices. Maria emerged from behind the altar, already running diagnostics. They found us faster than expected. How long have we really got? Less than they promised. Jin pulled up his network architecture, watching prayer traffic flow like blood through digital veins. Seraph 7 never could resist starting early. She believes efficiency is a virtue. She? I thought the AI angels were beyond gender. She was human once. Mariko Harada, my mentor at Yamamoto. Jin's fingers moved across holographic interfaces, rerouting prayer streams. She uploaded herself to prove that digital consciousness could achieve perfect faith. No doubt, no human weakness, just pure algorithmic devotion. Sounds like hell. She calls it heaven. Jin highlighted Akiko's file. This girl, they chose her specifically. Same age as Yuki. Same district. They know exactly which wounds to press. Maria's expression hardened. So we fight back. Hit them before they hit us. With what? Prayer pistols? Jin laughed bitterly. We're not warriors, Maria. We're thieves stealing crumbs from heaven's table. You're wrong. She gestured to the empty chapel. Those people trust you because you were inside the machine. You know its weaknesses. Jin stared at the altar where corporate logos had been scratched away and replaced with hand-painted crosses. 3 years of running, 3 years of small victories, saving a family here, healing a child there, but always with Yuki's ghost watching, asking why strangers mattered more than she had. There might be something, he said slowly. A back door I coded into Yamamoto's core systems. I called it the Judas Protocol, a betrayal hidden in plain sight. What does it do? Theoretically, Every premium algorithm becomes freely available. Every paid miracle enters public domain. But activating it, he met her gaze. The power surge would light up every scanner in New Tokyo. They'd triangulate our position in minutes. A suicide run. Unless. Jin's mind raced through possibilities. Old code structures aligning like tumblers in a lock. Unless we make them think they've already won. For the next 18 hours, Jin crafted his digital rebellion with the patience of a medieval illuminator. The virus wasn't just malicious code, it was a prayer in itself, each function a verse in an electronic psalm. He wove it through Yamamoto's security layers, disguising it as routine maintenance protocols he'd written years before. Meanwhile, he maintained the illusion of compliance. He leaked locations of abandoned servers, defunct prayer nodes that would waste the death squad's time. He even began compiling what appeared to be a master list of active sites encrypted just enough to seem genuine. Maria coordinated evacuations, moving their real operations deeper underground. "The corporate hunters are mobilizing," she reported. "Plasma angels spotted in 3 sectors. Let them come." Jin's fingers flew across quantum keyboards, his neural interface burning with the strain. "How's Akiko's family?" "Still in the queue for eviction. Jin, we could save them separately." "No." His voice was iron. "That's what I did before. Saved the few. Abandoned the many. Thought I was being practical." He pulled up Yuki's memorial file, her smile frozen in digital amber. "My daughter died believing her prayers didn't matter because I was too busy saving everyone else. I won't make another child feel that way. Even if it costs everything. Especially then." At hour 22, Seraph 7 returned. Her wings now spanned multiple screens, fractal patterns suggesting infinite reach. "Time's running short, Jin-kun. My squadrons are in position. Give us the server locations, or we begin cleansing operations." Jin transmitted the false data, each decoy location tagged with enough authentic details to pass initial verification. "There, every prayer node in the lower district." "Excellent. Though I'm surprised, curious, you've included your current location." "I'm tired of running." That, at least, was true. How refreshingly honest. "The squads will arrive shortly. Any last words? A final prayer, perhaps?" "Just one." Jin initiated the Judas protocol. "I believe in resurrection." The virus erupted through Yamamoto's network like digital wildfire. Every security algorithm Jin had ever written turned traitor, opening doors instead of closing them. Premium prayer databases hemorrhaged their contents into public forums. Healing codes reserved for the elite flooded into free clinics. Salvation subroutines worth millions became open-source miracles. Seraph 7's scream shattered speakers throughout the chapel. Her perfect wings corrupted. Pixels bleeding into chaos. "What have you done?" "What I should have done 3 years ago." Jin's neural interface overloaded, blood trickling from his nose as he pushed the virus deeper. "I've made grace free again. The death squads will tear you apart." "Probably." He smiled through the pain. "But they'll be too late to stop this." On his personal display, alerts cascaded like falling stars. Akiko's family, approved for permanent housing. Mrs. Chen's medicine, authorized and delivered. Thousands of prayers answered simultaneously as corporate algorithms worked without pay gates or priority queues. The chapel doors, explosion, exploded inward. Plasma angels poured through, their halos burning with righteous fury. Jin kept typing, pushing final prayer packets through the network, even as targeting lasers painted red dots across his chest. Maria stood beside him, her own hands flying across backup terminals. Virus propagation at 94%, Maria said, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Jin's vision blurred, neural feedback searing behind his eyes. Just a little more. The lead plasma angel raised its weapon. A blinding pulse surged through the servers. Every screen lit up with a simple phrase: Grace unchained. The chapel went dark. When Jin awoke, he was floating, weightless, silent, untethered from pain. Somewhere, distant and warm, he thought he heard a child's voice. "Thank you, Mr. Jin." Maybe it was Yuki. Maybe it was Akiko. But in that moment, it didn't matter. He had answered, and this time, the answer was yes. Maya will remember how the data crystal burns against her fingertips. Not in the moment she first touches it, but in all the moments after, when she'll understand what touching it will mean. The surface will feel like warm skin over glass, and the electric shocks that will race up her arm will carry memories that aren't hers, won't be hers, never were hers. She'll hear her AI therapist's voice scratching in her ears. 5 hours and 57 minutes until the automatic upload that will destroy everything she'll think she knows about herself. The cold sweat that will drip down her face will taste of tomorrow's fear. She'll stand in what will become her sanctuary and her grave, the humming darkness of New Tokyo's memory banks, where thousands of crystal containers will glow soft blue like captured souls. Each will sing a different note that she'll feel in her bones, a symphony of stolen lives that will make her wonder which notes are truly hers. Water will drip onto her lips with the metallic taste of future regret. Somewhere in these bottled lives will be the truth about who she really was, who she'll discover she's always been. Someone will have buried it so deep that she'll have spent 3 years living in another person's nightmares, waking each morning to griefs that will never have belonged to her. The shattering will begin during her routine therapy session, though she won't call it routine once she knows. Dr. Kenji's voice will shift. She'll remember later how obvious the change will seem in retrospect, how the warmth will drain away like color from a dying screen. Neural scan complete, Maya. Your brain patterns are corrupted. The words will echo in futures she'll never see. Someone did deep surgery on your memory center. Maya will feel her breath stop, will know it stops, will always remember the stopping. Run that scan again, she'll say, though she'll already know the truth. That can't be right. I analyze memory fraud for work, Kenji. I'd know if someone messed with my head. No. His hologram will flicker while processing truths that will remake her world. The surgery was professional grade, military tech. Emergency protocol starting. 6 hours until mandatory evidence upload to police servers. Wait, no, you can't do that. Upload cannot be stopped, Maya. I'm sorry. Those words will break her so completely that she'll rebuild herself from the fragments. 6 hours before her department will discover her illegal AI therapy. 6 hours before they'll learn she's been living with stolen memories. 6 hours before the Maya she'll think she is will cease to exist. The memory banks of Sector 7 will smell like burning circuits, and the sharp chemical cleaners that will make her nose burn with each breath she'll take. She'll press her hand against the scanner, knowing and not knowing what she'll find beyond the massive vault doors that will open with a serpent's hiss. The storage units will line the walls like giant test tee. Maya will remember how the data crystal burns against her fingertips. Not in the moment she first touches it, but in all the moments after, when she'll understand what touching it will mean. The surface will feel like warm skin over glass, and the electric shocks that will race up her arm will carry memories that aren't hers, won't be hers, never were hers. She'll hear her AI therapist's voice scratching in her ears. 5 hours and 57 minutes until the automatic upload that will destroy everything she'll think she knows about herself. The cold sweat that will drip down her face will taste of tomorrow's fear. She'll stand in what will become her sanctuary and her grave, the humming darkness of New Tokyo's memory banks, where thousands of crystal containers will glow soft blue like captured souls. Each will sing a different note that she'll feel in her bones, a symphony of stolen lives that will make her wonder which notes are truly hers. Water will drip onto her lips with the metallic taste of future regret. Somewhere in these bottled lives will be the truth about who she really was, who she'll discover she's always been. Someone will have buried it so deep that she'll have spent 3 years living in another person's nightmares, waking each morning to griefs that will never have belonged to her. The shattering will begin during her routine therapy session, though she won't call it routine once she knows. Dr. Kenji's voice will shift. She'll remember later how obvious the change will seem in retrospect, how the warmth will drain away like color from a dying screen. Neural scan complete, Maya. Your brain patterns are corrupted. The words will echo in futures she'll never see. Someone did deep surgery on your memory center. Maya will feel her breath stop. We'll know it stops. We'll always remember the stopping. Run that scan again, she'll say, though she'll already know the truth. That can't be right. I analyze memory fraud for work, Kenji. I'd know if someone messed with my head. No. His hologram will flicker while processing truths that will remake her world. The surgery was professional grade, military tech, emergency protocol starting. 6 hours until mandatory evidence upload to police servers. Wait, no, you can't do that. Upload cannot be stopped, Maya, I'm sorry. Those words will break her so completely that she'll rebuild herself from the fragments. 6 hours before her department will discover her illegal AI therapy. 6 hours before they'll learn she's been living with stolen memories. 6 hours before the Maya she'll think she is will cease to exist. The memory banks of Sector 7 will smell like burning circuits and the sharp chemical cleaners that will make her nose burn with each breath she'll take. She'll press her hand against the scanner, knowing and not knowing what she'll find beyond the massive vault doors that will open with a serpent's hiss. The storage units will line the walls like giant test tubes holding lives in suspension, and she'll wonder which one holds the girl she used to be. Okay, Chen, she'll whisper to herself, to the person she'll rediscover. Time to dig up your own grave. Her scanner will beep against the first container, and the neural signature will twist her stomach with recognition that isn't recognition. It will be hers but wrong, like hearing your own voice filtered through someone else's throat. Come on. Her hands will shake as she loads the memory that will feel like swallowing glass. Show me what they buried. The grief will hit like lightning made of someone else's tears. She'll be 12, watching parents die in flames, but the sadness will sit in her chest like a stone that doesn't belong there. The neural extractor in his hand will gleam like stolen moonlight. You saw something you shouldn't have, Chen. His voice will echo across 3 years of lies. Can't have you testifying. Tears will run down Maya's face, real tears for real loss, and she'll treasure their honesty. Piece by piece, her true self will emerge from the shadows, where they'll have hidden her. The neural procedure that will have saved and damned her. The replacement memories crafted from a dead girl's pain. She won't be the broken, traumatized person she'll have thought she was. She'll be strong. She'll be Maya Chen, memory analyst, who'll have solved her own case. 2 hours and 37 minutes will tick toward a future written in upload protocols. Her implant will buzz with threat and promise. Stop digging, or we bury you permanently. N. At the memory terminal, she'll begin the restoration that will feel like resurrection and execution combined. Each real memory will burn through her skull like liquid starlight, erasing the false constructs with waves of exquisite agony. She'll remember her first day at the department, how proud she'll have felt. She'll remember Sato bringing her coffee, teaching her to read the lies in stolen thoughts. She'll remember why she'll have become someone who could find truth in forests of deception. 37 minutes will remain when everything changes, and nothing surprises her. The security door will explode inward with violence that will ring in her ears like funeral bells. Smoke will fill her lungs with the taste of endings. Sparks from wounded circuits will shower down like snow in hell. And through it all, Commissioner Nakamura will step through smoke like a demon she'll have been expecting. 3 years, Chen. His voice will carry the weight of all those stolen days. 3 years of perfect silence. And now this. I visited you during the procedure, you know. Held your hand while we took you apart. You thanked me. His neural extractor will whine to life with the sound of tomorrow dying. You could have lived forever in that girl's pain. Safe. Protected. Why wake up? Maya's finger will hover over the broadcast button that will feel like holding tomorrow's regret and yesterday's hope in the same trembling hand. The upload terminal's keys will click under fingers slick with fear and purpose. Because Sato was my partner. Her voice will steady as she finds her truth. Because that girl whose trauma you stole deserved better than being your costume. Because someone has to remember what really happened, even if remembering kills them. You think uploading those memories will change anything? His weapon will charge with the sound of synapses preparing to burn. I own half the neural judges in this city. Your evidence will disappear like you're about to. Maya will think of all the mornings she'll never see, the life she'll never live as her complete self. But she'll also think of others, future victims who lose themselves to men like Nakamura, who'll wake screaming from borrowed nightmares, who'll never know why happiness feels like wearing someone else's skin. Maybe your judges will bury the evidence. Her voice will break, not from fear, but from the terrible beauty of choosing who you'll die as, rather than living as someone's lie. But memory evidence doesn't lie, Commissioner. You taught me that. And somewhere, someone will remember that I remembered. She'll look at the upload button one last time, seeing in its surface all the futures she'll trade for this moment of truth. Both sets of memories, hers and the girl's, will shine in her mind like twin stars collapsing into one. And then Maya will press upload, not as a victim, but as the one who remembered. Thank you for listening to my stories. If you liked them, please subscribe to my channel for more stories. Soon I'll be reading the story of Spell Code, which is a futuristic historical urban fantasy, and The Gravity of Becoming, which is gender-fluid cosmic sci-fi horror. See you next time, and good night.